Monday morning, April 5th. I hope that you had an absolute wonderful weekend. Dirk Beveridge here, founder of Unleash WD, and I am super thrilled to be here with you, spending a few minutes on this Monday morning, continuing our conversation on the 10 lessons from the 8,760 hours of COVID. You know, we started this conversation last Monday and then through the week last week, we talked about the first 5 lessons through COVID. And this week, we're going to continue the conversation, 9 a.m. Central, each day this week, looking at lessons 6 through 10. I really appreciate you being here with us. Why don't you let me know that you've joined us by saying hello in the comment sections, and we'll be sure to say hello back to you. And if you don't mind, we're going to get started in exactly 2 minutes. Okay, everybody? We'll see you. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I absolutely love seeing those of you coming in, joining us. Let me just say good morning to those of you coming in, saying hello. RJ, man, great to see you, man. Thanks. I hope you had a wonderful, wonderful weekend. You're back for the 6-1, man. Thanks so very much. I love it, love it, love it. Let's see. David, man, so good to see you, man. I saw you come up on my LinkedIn feed. Love to see you here. Hope everything is great over at Baylor Young. I know it is, man. Good to see you. Hope all is well. David, hope the same for you. Mr. Kennedy, my friend, good to see you. I was thinking about you in August, just recently over the weekend. So really looking forward to seeing you, man. Thanks for being here. Bill Smith, how are you? Guess what we did yesterday for Easter? We had my wife's family over, Bill. We had a fire out there by the lake, man. And I know, well, maybe you had a fire with your family as well. Really good to see you. Hey, Ted Stark. Always, thanks for being here. I, too, am excited for these 5 lessons. After the family left yesterday, I came back in the office last night, getting ready for this week's lesson. So, Ted, super excited for this week as well. Justin, really good to see you, my friend. Happy Easter. Hope you had a great Easter as well. Jennifer, thank you for being here as well. Great to see you. And let me jump down here. Jennifer says Dirk already has some happy feet. Well, sorry that you have to watch some of that, Jennifer, but I have the timer on at the same time. Thanks so much. I love it, Jennifer. Thanks. You make me smile. Ron, good morning to you. Thanks for being here. Paul, Dutch, man, good to see you again. Always hope you had a great weekend. Hope your leg is doing better. Susan Merlo, always bringing the energy. We are. You and I, absolutely. Joe, good to see you, my friend. Boy, this is great. You guys just keep coming in. Fantastic. I really appreciate this. Thomas, good to see you. There's Thomas. Jim Banovich, great to see you. So just great, great, great. So guys, thank you so much for being here. Just keep the comments coming. I love it. Let's get into this. All right. So there are some of you who are joining us for the first time. So let me tell you what we're about here. It was on March 13th last year at 10 a.m. in this very office that I came to the conclusion that the world was going to change overnight because of this thing called COVID, because of the pandemic. And we all know what happened. And just about 3 weeks ago, we reached the 1-year anniversary. There was 8,760 hours between that moment at 10 a.m. on March 13th of last year and March 12th of this year on that Friday. 8,760 hours went by. So I started thinking about what happened during those last 8,760 hours. And I wrote through my journal as I was flying down to Miami, what are the lessons that we learned? And I put that together in an email that went out exactly at that 8,760 hour mark. And this was one of the most forwarded emails that I had ever sent, one of the most replied to emails that I ever sent. So I said, let's have this conversation. So starting last Monday and continuing through this coming Friday, we've been having these conversations relative to the lessons. And you'll see that we started last Monday with the lesson that time is precious. We then moved to Tuesday and we talked about connections being undervalued. Wednesday, that health is everything. Thursday, you can be asleep while awake. Technology is an enabler and a destroyer, we talked about on Friday. And today we're starting with Leadership Matters. And tomorrow we'll talk about something that I think we all need to be talking about more in business. The human spirit yearns to explore. Wednesday, we entered this new age of acceleration. I've got a lot of thoughts there. I'm going to need your thoughts there as well. Thursday, life is a healthy struggle. And 10, it's all about shifting to tomorrow. So if you don't mind, what we're going to do is we're going to get going with number 6, Leadership Matters, right now. Okay? Okay, so lesson number 6 of the last 8,760 hours, Leadership Matters. And let me just real quick say good morning, James. Thanks for being here. Allison, always great to see you. Karen, great to see you. And Karen says, hey, Karen, I would never have even known the misspelling, all right? So no problems there on my live streams anyway, all right? So here we go. So Leadership Matters. The 6th lesson is that leadership matters. So let me start with my conclusion. And my conclusion is this. Keep leading. The world, your world, needs you now more than ever before. As we entered into the COVID pandemic, into the lockdown, into the shutdowns, into the social distancing, that was my mantra that started early in the pandemic, and I've continued it through this day. And the mantra, the lesson is this: keep leading. The world, your world, needs you more than ever before. When I say your world, I mean your employees. I mean your family. I mean your community. Hell, I mean yourself. We have to find it within ourselves, despite all of the challenges, all the hurdles, to continue to keep leading. One of the individuals that sparked me last year, early into the pandemic, is just an amazing leader by the name of Keith Northery from APR Supply, regional manager, about 8 different branches. And early on, he went on to LinkedIn and he uploaded his first video. And man, it was a heartfelt video. And his message was this. He said, for the first time in his career, he's finding himself in a position that he didn't necessarily ask for. The last time there was a crisis in the country, the economic crisis, he was a sole contributor. And he only had to concern himself for himself and his family. But with the pandemic now, with 8 branches under him, he found himself in a precarious position where everything he did touched the lives of over 23 employees, plus all of their families. And I think Keith is an example of what I saw in business over the last 8,760 hours. We really did take concern for our people. But not everybody did that. When I was thinking about these lessons, here's how I wrote it relative to Leadership Matters. What I said was this. I said, Washington, D.C. is broken. It was broken before COVID. COVID accelerated the brokenness, right? Don't do as I do. Don't do as I do as I say. That could have been the lasting legacy, could it not, of our politicians who once were there to serve, and now it seems to have used COVID as a means to secure more power. Take power from the people rather than give power to the people, were my thoughts. It's a crying shame. It hurts me internally when I think about how divided our country is right now. And I believe we missed a hell of an opportunity to bring our country together like we did after 9/11. Remember that, man? The Congress out on the steps after 9/11 singing, God bless America. Not with this pandemic, man, just the complete opposite. Those in Washington, D.C., I believe, need to understand that leadership matters. Those in Washington need to take a long, hard look in the mirror of how they have led over these last 8,760 hours. Now, here's my point. Here's what I want to talk about with you. In the corporate world, throughout distribution, with our clients in the industry, I saw something completely different, man, and something so different, it lifted me. When COVID unleashed itself 8,760 hours ago, every business leader I've spoken to prioritized people. Not power, not even profits, not their legacy. They prioritized people. Every business leader I spoke to prioritized their people, the health and the safety of their people, their customers, their suppliers, and their community around them. They got to work on their business. So leadership absolutely matters. And then and now we must keep leading. As I thought about this, as I was working through talking to our clients, our community, and the like, I thought of the word crisis. You know, the pandemic, certainly, could we use the word crisis to describe what the pandemic brought upon our country, upon our society, upon our industry, upon our companies, upon our employees, upon our businesses, upon our families, upon ourselves? I think we can. David, amen, you say. I appreciate it. Absolutely, right? Leadership is critical. So I thought of the word crisis as this was happening, and an acronym came to my mind. And here's the acronym. When I talk about leadership matters, certainly in crisis, I think about this acronym. Calm, resolve, inspire service, introspection, and strategic action. Keep leading. Calm, resolve, inspires service, introspection, and strategic action. And I think there's a message and a lesson in that acronym of how we lead, yes, in crisis, but even as we're coming out of this pandemic. Think about some of the greatest leaders in the history of the world, how they led during crisis. Winston Churchill, during World War II, when the weight of the world was on his shoulders, how did he lead? Calm resolve, inspire service, introspection, and strategic action. How about after 9/11? How about those few days after the World Trade Towers came tumbling down and George Bush, President Bush, goes up to New York City, stands on the rubble, puts his arm around that fire chief. And you can still hear him speaking today. Calm resolve inspires service, introspection, and strategic action. How about the firefighters? Think about right before the pandemic unleashed itself. You know, Australia, do you remember that? Australia was ablaze. Our West in Arizona and California was ablaze. And just think of those firefighters, man, as they walk towards that crisis, as they walk towards the heat of the flames. How do they do it? Calm resolve inspires service, introspection, and strategic action. And certainly during this pandemic, the healthcare workers on the front lines, from the receptionists in that hospital, to the nurses, to the doctors themselves, to the janitorial staffs in those hospitals. How do they do it? Calm resolve inspires service, introspection, and strategic action. And here's my point. My point is every one of those individuals were called to lead. They didn't, just like Keith Northey said in his LinkedIn post, he didn't necessarily ask to be there in that position of leadership when this pandemic unleashed itself. Churchill, Bush, the firefighter didn't necessarily ask to be there at that specific moment in time. Yet they were called to lead, and lead they did, and lead they do with calm resolve. They look internally. They look to serve. And then they take strategic action. Everyone was called to lead. And I believe you are called to lead. I believe I am in this moment, at this place, in this moment, for a reason to lead. I believe you find yourself in your position right now when there's still uncertainty unswirling around us like crazy. And I believe you're there for a reason. You're there to lead your team, your people, your family, your community, your employees, your industry, your suppliers, your customers to a better future, despite the uncertainty that is completely surrounding us. Jackie, I appreciate it. Couldn't be more true. Any crisis, personally or professionally. Thank you. See, Dutch says to us, treat everyone with dignity and respect. Oh my guys, we're going to talk about that tomorrow, I think, too, Dutch. Lead from the front, set high standards, and never, ever give up. I don't understand today's leaders advocating tribalism. Help. Thank you. Thanks, Dutch. I agree 100%. So keep leading. The world needs you more than ever. I think there was a great model that we talked about throughout this pandemic that I think can continue to serve us today. And I learned this model from Rick Fantham, an amazing leader who's the CEO of Hajoka. And as the pandemic was unleashing itself on the world and his company and the industry, he sat back and reflected and said, how is he going to lead with calm resolve? What's the thinking and introspection he needs to do? How is he going to serve? And what's the strategic action he's going to take? And he broke it down into 4 phases. And I think these 4 phases are still instructional for us today. The first phase, leading through crisis, that Rick Fantham focused on with his leadership team was what he called the resilience phase. And in the resilience phase, as I alluded to earlier, he said the only thing that matters is the safety and well-being of our people. It is the only thing that matters. We have to act quickly and swiftly to ensure the resilience of our team, of our people, of our employees. We have to ensure that they are safe and that they are healthy. And that's what they did. They looked at what it was going to require to provide for the health and safety of their people, and they acted. Number 1. But as soon as they were able to do that, they had to then move their area of focus to the second phase of leadership for them, and that was the readiness phase. And they then had to ensure that their business was healthy. They had to stress test the business. They had to develop they had to play out different scenarios relative to what would happen if revenues did this. What would happen if revenues did that? What would happen if X, Y, and Z? And so they started developing scenarios to protect the core of their business. And then they developed those scenarios, and then they made the strategic actions based on that introspection and calmly looking at the reality that they are faced with. You know, it brings me to a thought. Jack Welch, the former CEO of General Electric, what did he defined leadership as looking reality straight in the eye and acting on it with as much speed as possible. Looking at reality, not as you wish it were, but looking at reality straight in the eye and acting on it with as much speed as possible. And that's what these first 2 phases for Hajoka was doing. And then the third phase was he said, all right, now that we have secured our people, now that we've secured the business, now we have to change the mindset of our people. Now we need to change the mindset of the organization to start playing to win. We have to get off the defense, get off the offense. We had to get off our heels, and we had to start leaning into winning. There is opportunity in crisis. There is opportunity in uncertainty. Let's find those opportunities. Let's find those areas of growth. Let's find those areas for innovation. Let's get out and play to win. And then as we play to win, we can start looking to the fourth phase, and that's the recovery phase. And as we start coming out of that pandemic, didn't know when that was going to happen, but he says, some point we're going to get to the other side of this. And we have to ensure through calm resolve, through introspection, through strategic action, we have to be ready to seize the economic opportunity, to seize the opportunities when we start coming out of the pandemic. And I think those four phases still today can drive a lot of the thinking for us as we continue to lead through this pandemic. Rick says, leadership messaging must be consistent. Today's COVID message is confusing. I love it. You know, Rick, one of the things I learned from Don McNeely, brilliant CEO of Chicago Tube and Iron, he says, you know, as a CEO, as a leader, let's say, as a leader, we must control the narrative, right? We have to be clear. We have to be consistent. We have to develop that rhythm of communication. We have to continue to lead our people towards that North Star where we're headed and the like. And so, yeah, I agree. Okay, Michael, I'm just looking at the first part of this, and let's see what you say. Dirk, as your dad taught us, identify and satisfy the customer's needs from the customer's point of view. As spot on as it was back then, it's critical to our areas of growth and opportunity. Michael, man, you touched my heart. Those of you who don't know, we're a second generation business. My dad's about 88 years old, living down in Florida right now, going through some health challenges. Michael, thanks for remembering him, man. And you know what? So many of those principles we still teach today, Michael. So thanks. And Jackie, yeah, I agree. What Rick shared with us was absolutely right on. So thank you. So lesson number six is that leadership absolutely matters, and we must continue to lead. Now, through the pandemic, I had written an ebook titled The Calling of Leadership During Unprecedented Uncertainty. In there, we talk about three core pillars of leading through uncertainty. Number one, relying on and leaning on your values. Number two, focusing on your people. And number three, having the mindset of shifting towards the other side of the pandemic, what we call shift to tomorrow. We don't have the time to go through that today. I'll put in the link after we're done, in the feed after we're done here. If you're interested in that book, we'll give that to you. But the three core pillars. On Friday, we're going to talk about the third pillar, and that is to shift to tomorrow. And even tomorrow, we're going to talk a little bit about the first one, the people side of things. Okay, guys? So with each of these lessons, I wrote to myself as I was journaling a reflection, a question. And the question for lesson 6 that leadership matters to me was this. I said to myself, lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way. What role do you want to play for the next 8,760 hours? And I decided to lead. I know you decide to lead. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Let's use today, April 5th, to reaffirm our commitment to be that leader that the world needs, to be that leader that your company needs, to be that leader that your family needs, to be that leader that your industry needs. Let's recommit to doing that right now, okay? Tomorrow when we come together, you guys, we're going to talk about unleashing the human spirit. It's something near and dear to my soul right now. I think we need to be talking about it a lot more and exploring it to a greater degree. So I really appreciate you being here with us today. Would you do me a favor as we're wrapping today's conversation up? Would you put in the chat there any thoughts that you have relative to this mission of leadership? And I'll begin to wrap it up with how I started, my conclusion. And that was keep leading. Keep leading. It's not easy, but your world needs you absolutely more than ever before. And Jim, I love what you say here. We use very similarly, survive, adapt, advance, thrive. They're still in play. Boy, I love the model, Jim. Survive, adapt, advance, and thrive. Similar to what Rick taught us with those 4 phases of leadership. So guys, thanks so much for being with us. Let's go out there and make this an absolutely fantastic, fantastic day. And Bill, I love it. As mentioned before, if not now, when? Right on. And now is now. You know, the only time that matters is now. Let's get after it, Bill. I love it. Jennifer, thank you so much. Leadership is everything. Lead by example because eyes are on us 24/7, right, Jennifer? Absolutely. Dan, thank you for being here, man. I agree. It's a great way to kick the week, being able to share with you and to hopefully stimulate some thinking, stimulate some action. As Bill said, it's now. Now is the time. So with that, everybody, thank you. I'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Central. Joe, thank you so much. Love, serve, care, he says. Okay, let me get these before we get off. Joe, super cool. Love, serve, care. Thank you. Jim, you and your network are inspiring. Love the inputs from everyone. Right, Jim? I love this. You know, I was going to sign off, but I'm not. Jim, you got me. You know, when this pandemic hit, Bethany, my partner, and I decided to do 4 things. We wanted to reach out to the industry, provide inspiration, provide insight, provide connectedness, and to hug each other just a little bit. And Jim, I agree with you, man. The tribe we have, the community we have here at Unleash, you all of you are absolutely inspiring to me. So I appreciate it. Thanks, Jim. James, great message. I will have a great week, and I want you to do the same. Marlene Short, you know what you mean to me, Marlene. You know what you mean to me. You've absolutely opened my eyes to so much when our paths cross, when we collided at the Innovation Summit. Thank you for being here. Susan, the reflection question is very motivating. There are another 8,760 hours coming, right? What will you do with yours? Absolutely. Opportunity to serve. Let's use those. All right. Thank you, Susan. And Karen, thank you for the positivity as well. Thank you for being here. Guys, I love each of you. I love us coming together. And I want nothing more than absolute joy and happiness for you. And in order for that to be there, I really believe we need to get out there and continue to lead. All right. I've riffed too long. But I hope you know how much I appreciate all of you. Let's go out there and make a great week. Hope to see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central. Have a great, great day, everybody.